it's Jazz and this is Wildlife Matters. Last week, we talked about the Philippines' most endangered land mammal and the world's most endangered buffalo, the Tamaraw. We talked about exactly why their numbers are declining and why their existence is being threatened. But you see, I wanted to know more about their conservation. What exactly is being done in order to conserve and protect these species? But before we begin, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow our social media pages. So the Tamaraw Conservation Program was established in 1979, and it focuses on the conservation of tamaraws and the protection of their habitats. As we mentioned in our last episode, the TCP has been handled by many different groups over the last few decades, but currently it's being handled by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or the DENR. Now this program focuses on 4 components. Number 1, conserving them in their natural habitat, or also known as in situ conservation, which is wherein they travel to the tamaraw's natural habitats in order to count them, monitor them, and research and study about them there. The second is conserving them outside their natural habitat, or ex situ conservation, which is where the Tamaraw gene pool takes place because they took 20 tamaraws from their natural habitats in order to conserve them in the Tamaraw gene pool farm, which is outside of that natural habitat. The third is management and livelihood of the people living within Tamaraw habitats. So the TCP has a lot of programs that give incentives to people who are near or living within the habitats of those tamaraws. So for example, they hire the people living there or the indigenous people to become their park rangers, and they give them a means of livelihood by giving them jobs as tour guides so that they can earn while also protecting and teaching people about the tamaraw. And the fourth, of course, is the information and dissemination campaign. Now, these are all about educating the public and getting the word out on what tamaraws are, how to conserve them, and what they're doing. And like I said, education is very important, which is why we really need that. With the passing of Kali, the last captive tamaraw, I wanted to know how it would affect the TCP's conservation projects and how they can go about with efforts. So I reached out to Mr. Anthony Del Mundo, who is the project coordinator of the TCP. Sir Neil, can you please tell us what you do for the Tamaraw Conservation Program?
I am the Tamaraw Conservation Coordinator. I head the office of the TCP. Basically, Tamaraw Conservation Program was created to protect the tamaraw, to conserve it from extinction. In the late 1970s, kasi tamaraw population was so dwindling. It's just around 200. So the government created PCCT, Philippine Committee for the Conservation of Tamaraw, in 1979. And then in 1987, it became TCP when DNR was created. Basically, TCP is created to protect the tamaraw in its habitat and to conduct ex situ conservation.
What do you think is gonna happen next? Like, how can we still continue to do the ex situ conservation now that Kali has passed?
Kali is a product of captive breeding in the late 1990s. I don't know why they stopped the program in the first place. I guess funding related, or it's not that successful based on the assessments. But our plan is to conduct a thorough and in-depth feasibility study for the country again. This time, it would be science-based, and we have local and international partners headed by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. The study will focus on the feasibility, kung pwede pa ba, if kaya pa ba natin, if it's physically, socially accepted pa rin ba siya, if it's financially viable pa rin, or is it culturally accepted by the IPs, those kind of things. We'll go through and the science and the biology of the tamaraw so that we have this fighting chance for the project to be successful. Now that Kali is gone, we're at loss because Kali is more than just a tamaraw to us. He grew together with the rangers, he grew old together with them. And Kali is the one that made tamaraw closer to humans. Without Kali, if we want to see or experience tamaraw, we would have to go to the mountains, which is not everyone can do. Trekking and hiking for 6 hours is not for everybody. And with Kali, tamaraw has become more than just a legend or a myth or a story by the others or something that we read by the book. Something about tamaraw became tangible because Kali is something that we can see up close and something that we can touch. For us, now we're at loss because that's irreplaceable. Kali is Kali and he is irreplaceable. And he is our flag bearer and advocate. So
Kali is Kali and he is irreplaceable. He is our flag bearer. So how do you think we can encourage people, especially people even outside of Mindoro, to help your project and to help conserve the Tamaraw?
Change hearts and to change minds of people because even here in Mindoro, there are still people who would go hunting for wildlife just so they can have a taste of exotic meat. All of us have to change, not just here in Mindoro, but in the Philippines and all over the world because we won't be having this pandemic if we have just respected the wildlife and if we have not traded it that way. If we did not make a soup out of the pot, then I guess this pandemic would have not happened.
This pandemic and the loss of Cali are all consequences of our disregard for wildlife. For so long, we've been consuming wildlife that we're not even meant to. And so because of that, we have ended up with this global pandemic that's lost us so many friends and families, cost people their jobs and mental health. And the world is in chaos. It's like everything has been stopped. But we've not only lost humans, but we've also been wiping out entire species, driving animals like the Tamaraw to their extinction, just because we keep consuming wildlife. When we have so many farms, so many other alternatives, so many other options to consider. So what can we do? How can we help the Tamaraw Conservation Program? It all begins with a change of heart. We need to see this problem differently as not just a problem about losing tamaraws, but a problem that affects each and every one of us. If we don't change our mindset, if we don't change our heart, it's not just the tamaraw that we'll never be able to see again, but so many other species. And COVID won't be the only pandemic we'll ever face. Another thing you can do is, of course, we have to support them. We can support them by spreading word about their projects, their programs, beyond the loop about Tamaraw conservation.
And on the 31st, we'll be having another round of virtual biodiversity camp. Every October is Tamaraw month, and what we do is we conduct bio camps in Mount Tamaraw National Park, wherein we immerse people in rangers' lives. We teach them biodiversity, birding, very, very immersive educational experience. But then again, with the pandemic, we can't do that anymore, so we'll be doing a virtual one. Hopefully, encourage people to join. And then we'll be showing Suwagu Suko. Suwagu Suko is a film documentary sponsored by Biofin. It will be shown during the virtual biocamp. So if anyone's interested to see the movie, it's a very good movie talaga.
And third, you can also donate at the Biofin website. Biofin, or the Biodiversity Finance Initiative, is an approach under the UNDP in order to raise funds to support causes like the Tamaraw.
And then, of course, there's this project of Biofin UNDP again, the hashtag Together for the Tamaraws. This is to help our rangers and wardens have been affected by the pandemic. Because of the pandemic, the park closed, so there's no visitors going to Mount Natural Park right now. And our wardens and rangers were also the porters and tour guides. And without visitors, they lost their livelihood. So what Biofin UNDP did is to raise funds for them so that they'll have some sort of allowance for 6 months habang we have this pandemic. If anyone wanted to donate, just check in Facebook, hashtag Together for Tamaraws.
So you can donate to the Biofin website and their Together for Tamaraws campaign in order to help them fund initiatives to help the TCP be more effective in reaching their conservation goals. We'll also be leaving that link in the description box below. And lastly, I really urge you to be vocal about this. Let's push our government officials, our leaders, people in authority to pay attention to the Tamaraw, to give more funding, to deploy more researchers in order to help the Tamaraw Conservation Program do what they need to do. Remember, there are so many ways to help. You can educate and inform people, push your government authorities to pay more attention, support and share their initiatives, and donate to their cause. After Cali's death, none of us, especially us Filipinos, should ever be the same. None of us should take this lightly because this is a sign that we need to start moving. This is a sign that we should start standing up for everything that Cali lived for, which is to conserve our planet's remaining species. Because remember, every piece of wildlife matters.